Hello guys, welcome back to Unknown Games. So this time I will make a review. I've bought a new processor, the 5800 X 3D. So I'll do a comparison between the one that I have. It's the normal version. It's the 5800X only. And with that, I'll compare ACC in VR. So let's see. Right now, here on Steam VR, you can see that the video, the refresh rate is marked to 90 Hz, okay, and I have the resolution at 100%. If you go to the per application on ACC, I have the same 100%. No motion smoothing, or in other words, there is no reprojections. And let's fire ACC to see how it handles this. Usually I play with 60 Hz to get only 60 FPS on the game, because I want it to be sync. I don't want to have up and downs on the FPSs. But for this test, I'm using 90 to understand or to know where are the upper and lower limits of the frames per second. Okay, let me just go to options. So I have the resolution scale set to 50, some things in mid, another things on high. You know, it depends on you. But this is the best setting for the VR, and this is the one you should decrease, because you lose a lot of performance with this one. It is better to have a higher pixel density rather than a higher resolution scale. I'm using FPS VR. It's down here. Okay, so right now 65 FPS. Let me just go back and basics. I want to save history, so I want to save I want to log this session. So I will use Mount Panorama, because I know that the pits here they are a bit heavy on the processing, and I will choose the time of the day. I think it's set to 6 p.m. Okay, so let's start the session. Okay, as you can see on the starting grid, I have oscillations between 50 and 60. It never reached 60, but as you can see,
stay double file.
Average FPS 56. I will not perform a complete lap. Now we are reaching the pits, as you can see. There are a lot of dropped frames.
Green line.
Oops, sorry guy. $60. So they are increasing now because the cars, they are more dispersed now. And I will stop here. Let's wait for them to pass us. So you saw the oscillation and you saw the CPU frame times. Yeah, this game uses a lot of CPU. So let's try to have different settings. So I'll use VR low. in the resolution scale, I'll use these settings. Okay. Let's see how it performs. Okay. So the average is restarted. Let's go for it.
Stay in double file. Green light, go, go, go.
Okay, so from 70 to 90. The frame time increased for the CPU. It's difficult to see with this FPS VR window, so let's wait for the guys to pass, and we have 85 FPS average. Okay, so let's go for another test and video. So let's say 50%, and the lowest possible, I think it's 70. Yeah, so completely CPU dependent. Let's see.
Go in double file.
Actually, there is no difference, I think. One thing I forgot again. Let's reset this counter. As you can see, the cars, they look totally it reminds me the first time I played with VR on PS4.
Green light, shine, go.
Everything looks like this. I think we have the same average as before, so we are not limited by the GPU. Here we go! Let's wait for them to pass here. Okay, 85, the same as before. And another try. This time we will try it with the medium settings. Okay. Why not?
Go, go, go. prepare the car.
Okay, so as you can see, 66 FPS in high. Yeah, we have some GPU frame time, it's high. And that's it now. Let's switch the processor and see how it works. Okay guys, so let's test this now for the new processor. As you can see, I have the same settings, the ones that I usually play with. Let's go for it.
Stay in double file. Green light, go, go, go.
Oh, okay. I'm not having drops from the 50. So far so good. I'll stop on the same place. Okay, I think there is some improvement. I think the FPSs, they are more stable, but there is no increase, I think. So, of course, we have a GPU bottleneck, and I think the processor is just helping to keep the FPS constant. So let's go for the next settings. Okay guys, so I've just restarted FPS
Go in
VR.
double file.
Some jumps on GPU frame time. Good frame time for the CPU. Gold tires and mount panorama. It's not a good combination. Okay. Looks good. Let's go for another test. Let's go for it.
Go in double file.
The CPU frame time is super low.
Green light, go, go, go.
Yeah, I think the CPU frame time is lower. And okay, restart it. Let's try out another settings. Okay, I've just reset.
Stay double file.
So far so good, 90 FPS.
Green light, go, go, go.
Looks good. Looks good on the settings. So let's check the data. It's summertime in Portugal. It's really hot today. So what are my thoughts after 1 week playing ACC with this new processor? I think it depends on your system. If you have a really beefy GPU as I have, the 3090, you will not see so much difference between one to another. So if you have the 5800X, you just keep it. Don't upgrade it, unless if you are thinking to take the new generation of GPUs. Okay, I'll show you why, because I have the data to confirm that. Yeah, but if you have like a medium GPU where you can only use medium configuration on the game, I think the CPU will give you one improvement boost. And I'll show you also with data that I've collected with these sessions that I've done. So let's go for the data. For the best visual settings, in fact, I had worse performance with this new processor. But I think it's not related with the processor itself. It was something on my system, okay? Or maybe because ACC was updated, I had an average of 61.73, so it was enough to keep my FPS at 60 because I use 60 hertz on my headset. And with the 5800X3D, we were reaching 58.27. Okay, so we have less 5.6% of performance with this processor. But anyway, I don't think this is something related with the CPU, because if you check the CPU frame times, they are lower. So we have a median of 5.6 with the 3D version and 6.9 with this old one. So the CPU is performing better. It's 21.1% better than the other one. Okay. But for the GPU frame times, I had this drop. I can see that the median time is 14.4. In this one, the original one was 13.1, so it was less. And due to that, if you check the frame times that are lower than 11.1, it's the time necessary for the screens to sync. And if they are not synced, so we have a higher percentage than here, and if they are not synced, that affects our delivered FPSs. Okay, so we had 6.2% of frame time VSync here and 27.5, just because we had 1 millisecond of difference, and that affects the number of FPSs. I think if you have the 5800X and you are not thinking in upgrading the GPU, just keep it. Don't buy this one. Keep the money with you. But if you are doing a new system and you are thinking to upgrade the GPU for the upcoming generations, with graphical cards generations, well, probably this is a good processor to buy. Maybe not, because the price will drop, of course. One of the last CPUs for this socket. And yeah, I think it's worth the upgrade if you are thinking also to upgrade the GPU. So let's see now for other settings. If you go to low visual settings, we had a better performance of 3.51%. Of course, we are limited by the headset because the headset only has 90 Hz. I could for sure reach more than that, but we can compare, for example, the frame times. Okay, since we don't have a big difference on delivered FPSs. The original one had 86.52, and the new version, the 3D model, had 89.56. So there's no big difference, only 3.51%. But we can see that the frame times they were really better. So 23.1% on this case on the GPU, and on the CPU, the frame time decreased by 30%. It's really good. So if you have a bad graphic card, or if you want only full visual experience related with frame rate, this is the CPU for you. Then I've stress test the CPU to see what the CPU could deliver with this headset, but the difference is minimum with the low visual settings. If you compare here, 99.56% and 99.46%, it's the same because we are limited by the headset by the frame rate of the headset, so 90 hertz. So that's the reason why we have similar results. But if you compare with this one with the original version, so we went from 10 to 7, so we had an increase of 31.4% on performance. Okay, so the graphic settings that we should look at, the ones that I think we need to check more in detail, it's the medium visual settings. So these settings, I think, are the settings that the majority of the players of ACC in VR use. So I could see an improvement boost of 13.3%. Okay, so you'll get more 10 FPS between the original version and the 3D version. And also, of course, you can see the frame times. They are really lower. Almost, they are 36.4% better than the original one. So we had then 10.7, and now we have 6.8. And you could see that the GPU frame times, they are about the same. Because, of course, it's related with GPU, but we are trying to extract more performance with the CPU. We have an increase of 13.3% on these settings because we are not limited by the number of frames that the headset could deliver, because they were not reaching 90. In some cases, they reached 90. Maybe this performance is even better. But yeah, if you compare one to another, of course, we have an improvement boost. For you guys that have a 3070 or a 3080, I think this is a good processor for you. You'll get an improvement boost. For those guys that are using huge resolutions as I am with a 3090, I don't think you should spend the money. You'll get almost nothing with it with the upgrade. Unless, of course, as I said before, if you are thinking in upgrades your GPU, I think this is a good one. So guys, I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, make a like, and click on the bell to receive the notifications. Thank you guys, and see you soon.